All right. We can't afford not to record.
Hey, we got a special episode for you. We can call this one Tales from the Road.
I would like to. Yes, I would. All right. So, and this is one that we side hustles.
Okay.
All right. And so I've been exploring side hustles. We've been getting into finance. My wife and I look at finance as completely different, and we've decided we want to be a little bit more financially stable. And so part of that has been kind of wrangling our budget.
Okay.
And in the midst of wrangling our budget, I bought these 2 new cars. New to me, not new, but bought these 2 new cars. I was like, if I'm gonna buy them, I'm gonna see if I can't put them to work. Sign up for Turo, sign up for Lyft, sign up for Uber, and the Turo I hadn't gotten completely finished, but I did start Lyft. And ran Lyft and loved it.
Okay.
Absolutely loved it. Sent you a link.
Yeah,
loved
you
it
did.
so much.
You did, and you got me into it, and I did it for like 3 or 4 weeks. I loved it. I'm like, hey man, I'm behind a computer all day. I'm missing a social interaction. I loved it, man. One of my rides, I picked up Dave Matthews, Coke dealer. I don't know if it's a true story or not, but man, I'm loving the stories that I'm getting from the drivers. Right. In one instance, I think I even gave away a free trip. I felt bad for this brother. I picked him up from a hotel. He needed to go to 7-Eleven, and I learned that you can have multiple stops. So he's like, man, came down from Richmond, and we hit a deer. Car is totaled.
Oh.
My phone is dead, so I need a lift to the 7-Eleven so I can buy a phone adapter. I was like, dude, man, I got an extra phone adapter. He's like, how do I get a ride back? I was like, man, I'm cutting off the fare. I'll take you back. Don't worry about it. Take all the time you need. Turns out he's also an HBCU grad. He went to
Johnson C. Smith?
No.
Okay.
It's in North
This sounds like something that would happen to a Johnson C. Smith.
A&T.
Oh, it don't sound like A&T story.
A&T.
All right.
Yeah,
usually they together.
He went to A&T.
I don't know why I'm picking on Johnson C. Smith.
He's trapped there with his kids, so he's getting a meal from 7-Eleven. I'm like, dude, the last thing you need is to spend $20 on a iPhone charger that probably ain't gonna work. So take mine. I'll give you a ride back. But I'm loving it. I'm getting what I'm missing from being in the human services field. I'm interacting because the type of people vary. I'm picking up lawyers.
Yes.
I'm picking up I'm
seeing parts of Roanoke I've never seen.
Yeah, picking up a lot of low income.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad about that because I'm making trips to Walmart and picking up the same people. I'm like, damn, you can't be making much.
Because this is not somebody
minimum.
shopping at Walmart.
Yeah.
This is somebody you're picking up who's
An
been
employee.
working.
Yeah.
An employee.
I'm like,
the employee pickups are tough.
I'm like, damn, you're paying, $10 to $12.
It's like a half of an hour or to an hour on a shift.
Maybe 2 hours, down and back. It's $10 to $15 per trip. So I'm loving it. I know you got some stories. So let's hear it.
Well, and I think getting into it because it was the wildest thing. First off, it's a real middle class hustle. Mm-hmm. Like you are not a Lyft driver if you're not doing well, because like you said, you've picked up a lot of people who are spending half a paycheck on it. And part of the way I got into it is I was talking with somebody, and I let my mouth outrun my information. So I had all these people are like, if you want a new car, just run Lyft and it'll pay the car payment. And I'd heard that story so much, I related again. And I was like, I never run Lyft in the world. Why am I telling people this thing that I don't know is true? So I get out and I start running it a little bit, and you can't unless it's your full-time job. So you could run Lyft, I think, and earn probably what I'm earning now is as a principal if you did Lyft all the time.
Oh man, you can do 6 figures if you.
I think so. I think absolutely if you made it your job.
Yeah.
Holding a job and then running Lyft to make your car payment be real sketchy.
I don't think so.
You'd have to be You'd have to be way more consistent than I am.
My problem is getting out of the game.
What do you mean getting out of the game?
If you haven't noticed, I haven't ran Lyft in 2 months. I got a ticket, and I was like, "Fuck this."
The ticket did it.
It did, man. It's been before Christmas. I haven't. I
You
can't
gotta run more Uber then. You just
I-
quit running Lyft.
It doesn't matter. I don't even remember what I was running before I got the ticket.
Man, Uber snitches on you. Uber like, hey, you're going too fast. You're going too fast.
Uber did not put that police officer on the side of the road to catch me doing 51 and a 35.
But it would have told you were speeding.
It doesn't matter.
Lyft don't care. Lyft like, run, man. Go get them. Get that man home.
I think in my excitement to pick up the next person.
Yeah.
Because that's almost how I was treating it. I told you it reminded me of
It does.
Crazy Taxi.
It
I
feels
think we played
very much like a
on
floppy
PlayStation
disk.
1, where you just picking up and going to the next stop and just
It does. The app feels like a game. It absolutely does.
And I will say I don't think I had any bad passengers because
I haven't either.
I actually almost took pride in like learning and preparing for my next passenger, like with my playlist. So, if somebody got in, they're like, "Hey, man, I like your music." I was like, "Yeah, I did it," and it became addictive.
It is. I've told people that too. Because at first, I don't think I even wanted people to know I was running Lyft, like I was doing a side job. And then one day, I got somebody called a Lyft for a guy in a wheelchair. So they called the Lyft, and so I pull up and I was like, "Hey, lady, you called for a Lyft?" She was like, "Yeah, I need you to take him." And then she left. And so now he's in the wheelchair. I got to get him into my van. As I'm pulling him in, there's my teacher that works with me. Out there watching me try and get this guy into my van. I was like, well, cat's out the bag now. Might as well be honest about it. But at that point, I was also very much, still really enjoying it. I still run it now because I enjoy it, because I just don't when I don't feel like it or don't want to do it. But I know it's addictive because I've run it a couple times when it also has not been financially beneficial. Like I'm also running it a little bit because there's a dopamine hit in getting a ride and finishing a task.
Yeah.
And that's not good either.
Getting points and
Yep.
hitting gold status.
Yes.
But I will say on this side of it, being out of it, Uber has become my pimp. They're calling me like, hey, brother, where you at? I'm like, leave me alone, man. I got hurt.
Now, I'm going to tell you, for this episode, now, if you're out there and you're thinking about running Lyft, right now I would say I'd highly recommend it. I have, what I think is the perfect Lyft vehicle is I have a Dodge Caravan with the automatic doors in the back. For Uber, I only run Uber XLs. So I'll run both the Lyft and the Uber app at the same time. But running the Lyft isn't how you make the real money. So if you're listening and you're like, how in the world do I start making money on Lyft? When you're first in and you're first excited, make sure you don't sign up for the app unless you sign up with a recommendation.
Okay.
Find somebody else who's running it, get that app, and then run the first set of runs. So if you sign up for Lyft, only do Lyft. You sign up through somebody else's Lyft, only do Lyft for 100 runs, and then you get a bonus.
Okay, I think Uber does the same.
Uber does the same. So don't do what I did and get both Uber and Lyft at the same time, because you're not going to finish enough runs on either one to help the other person. Because I think I figured this out kind of late, and I was like, hey, Brian, give me your Uber code. And I signed up for your Uber code, but I don't think you ever got my runs. But I also can't tell. Uber doesn't hit me. From the first experience, I didn't have the same experience you had with Uber.
Yeah. Uber hit pretty quick. Because I think I was actually doing Lyft one day, Uber next, Lyft, Uber, alternating. And at one point I was like, damn, I could probably double my salary with this side hustle. And that's part of the scary and addictive thing. And the other thing is it cashes immediately. Like you could see your tally go up, and you can pull the money like it's 80 cents. Well, it's almost like a video game. Like I said, like you're getting, like they're sending me notification, hey, couple more rides, you're gonna hit gold status.
Yep.
You get 3 free months of Rosetta Stone, learn another language. I'm like, damn.
Man, you know why they do that? All right, because so and if you've never seen me, I'm on the cover, but I'm light skinned, dreadlocks. I got like an Arabian features, so I'm real nondescript. So like the first time I was running Lyft, a lot of people would get in and go, "Where are you from?" And so I'm from Franklin County, you know, just down the way, because I thought they were like,
oh,
finally. 2 things that kind of tipped me off. One, kid got in and was like, "¿Cómo está?" And I was like, "I'm doing good. How are you, man?"
No muy bien y tú.
And so, which wouldn't have caught me because I was like, "Oh, the kid's learning Spanish." Except the parent was like, "No, don't do that." It's like, so clearly the kid was making an assumption jumping in. And so I wouldn't have caught it if she had just let the kid do it, because I was like, "Oh, the kid's learning some Spanish, you know. Come on in, kid." But then one of my rides, like as she was getting out, just like stopped and was like, "Listen, what are you?" I'm like, "I'm just black, like plain old boring black." She's like, "Really? I thought you was like Arabic or something." I'm like, "No." She's like, "You're the first black driver we've seen." And I was like, "That's shocking." It really did shock, because I'm just riding in Roanoke. Almost all of my runs have been in Roanoke. I did one in North Carolina, but it was an Uber Eats. I couldn't run regular Uber in North Carolina. I couldn't run regular Lyft. They blocked you from other places.
Yes.
So you have to run it in your location.
And if you switch to that location, you're looking at a lengthy process to get back.
Okay. So that tells me. And again, running that Lyft made no sense. Like that was a financial loss, essentially. Like I ran a $4 Uber Eats run. I hate the Uber.
Why were you doing Uber Eats?
Because it's the only one that would let me. And also, when I first signed up for Uber, Uber didn't tell me squat. So Uber had me signed up for everything. Like I circled the McDonald's parking lot looking for somebody, and then that one cost me money too, because there was a homeless lady sitting out there. So eventually, I was like, "Well, she must be who I'm picking up." So I was like, "Hey, are you such and such?" She was like, "No, you got $1?" So I was like, "All right, here's $5." on a $3 Uber Eats run. So then I had to go through the drive-through, pick up the food, you drop it off at their house. If you were doing Uber Eats, tip your folks.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how Grubhub works. I would suggest tipping the Grubhub folks as well. But in those instances, the payout's not great.
It's not.
It's not. I've turned those off, and for Uber, I only run Excel because I've got the van. So I'll fill the van up for Uber Excel, but I'll run Lyft. I like Lyft. I really like Lyft.
And I do miss it. It's just hard for me to get back out there. I'm still scared, man. I'm like, damn it, I haven't had a ticket in 10 or 15 years, and now I'm probably gonna have to take driver improvement again.
Because you got 2 back to back.
Oh yeah,
man. All while on the clock.
No, the first one was on the clock, and the second one was just because I'm driving a Tesla. So.
But see, that's the other thing. I ain't speeding in no minivan, man. That thing does not like. It's got some get up. It ain't got no go. So you know.
I think that's what's messed me up is having the speedometer in the middle. Mm-hmm. I don't look at speed anymore. I just drive.
Yeah, you need to. But again, the Uber app turns red when you start speeding.
I don't look at that, man.
Oh,
I just drive.
I do. I spend a lot of time. I look at the app. I needed a heads-up display if I get into an accident.
I talk. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that a lot of the people that I pick up want to talk. I'm learning a lot about people I pick up.
I am too. That part is a lot of fun.
I'm also learning about people's fear of getting a bad rating from their driver. The most polite person I picked up was a girl who almost threw up in my car. I've had a vomit bag that has been in 3 vehicles that we purchased for my daughter who used to get motion sickness.
Never been used.
Never been used. I've had this vomit bag since she was 2. And she's 14 now. And something told me, I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I probably should have this in the car. So even when I put it in there, I was like, be strategic. I've heard stories. So I put it in the back seat, and this girl's like, oh, I'm not feeling well. I was able to grab that thing, pop it out. Here you go. She hit the bag. So, no mess, no harm, no foul. The whole time she's I'm so sorry, sir. Please don't you're going to give me a bad rating. I'm never going to be. I'm like, look.
If you give someone less than a 3, they never pair you with them again.
Now, have you ever given a bad rating?
Not once.
I've given one.
The very first ride I ever had threw up in my car. First ride I ever gave.
Now, I'm also realizing, I think the 5-star rating, I give a 5-star to everybody.
Me too.
But I think the 5-star ratings are supposed to be for people who tip.
That's what
because I started to notice that Uber and Lyft will tell you, hey, high tip probability.
Mm-hmm. And they're using the 5-star rating to figure out.
I think so.
Because the thing I got on there said, don't rate anybody until you get home.
And see, I don't.
I do. I immediately.
Yep. Me too.
Not only that, at first I was also leaving comments.
Really?
Like the guy that threw up in my car was super nice.
Hold on, I didn't know that somebody threw up in your car.
First pickup.
Oh no.
Picked him up from work, and he had gotten overheated at work, and they sent him home.
Oh.
And so he was in the car, and I was just like, man, we're going to get you home. We're going to get you home. We're going to be all right. Oh, no. He threw up in the bag, and he was also like bunched up to make sure he didn't get anything anywhere. And he just like apologizing. And so like
afraid of that Uber rating.
But nice guy. I got the chance to pick him up a second time. And actually got a chance to talk with him. I was like, man, I'm so glad to see you feeling better. And and it's just a regular ride home this time. That's all cool. But it gave him a good rating, and I like even left like real respectful rider. And I was leaving comments at first for folks.
I think we're messing up the algorithm though.
Maybe because I'm judging people on the people and not the money.
I did too. I automatically, if there's conversation going back and forth, I'm gonna give them a 5-star rating. Because I don't even know about the tips until I get home.
Yeah.
And by then, I've already rated everybody that I've picked up.
And so, one, I want to hear about the poor rating. What did somebody do to earn a poor rating?
Poor rating went to hospital.
Oh.
The hospital will they'll send Ubers to drop off people that they don't want to deal with.
Yeah. And
this was a guy who was being dropped off at the rescue mission. He didn't know it. So
they full out left him in your care.
Yeah. So I talked to him. I was like, hey man, who set up this Uber for you? He's like, man, somebody in the hospital, and I don't even know where I'm going. So I had to explain to him where he's going. Luckily, I did this for 10 years, working with mental health. Yeah. So I was able to explain to him, what was going to happen. I'm going to drop you off here. I think they open their doors at 9. So, and I think you have to be out at crack of dawn. And you're going to have to find something to do until then. But I didn't like the situation that they put me in. They didn't explain to me what was going on. Because with Uber, you can leave messages to the drivers. Yep. They did not do this. So I gave them a bad rating once I knew that it wasn't coming from his account personally.
Yep. I would say the only bad experiences I've had as well have been somebody else setting a ride up for somebody else. Has been the worst one. And there's been 2 that have been uncomfortable. The first one where I had to help the gentleman in, and the lady just clean abandoned me. And she may also have been drinking and just did something nice. So I didn't ding her rating. I still gave her a 5. But I had to park and roll him to his house.
now I've had good experiences.
But he was cool
for people who have set up rides. I've had some for parents who set up rides for kids.
That one's weird. I had a looked like somebody my daughter's age, 14, that I took from one place to another, and that freaked me out. Especially because I didn't get a parent contact beforehand.
Yeah,
but it was not from her account.
And if it says Jimmy, and then you're picking up little Sasha to take her somewhere, it is kind of awkward. But usually they know where they're going.
Yeah.
And One ride that I did pick up somebody. It was from a rehab, and I was taking him to it was probably a mental health facility, but they were on top of it. Left it in the comments. Hey, you're picking up such and such. You're going to be dropping him off here. He already knows. Everything's good to go. If you have any problems, you can call me on. They even left their number on there. So I was good with it. They get a 5-star rating from me.
So far, the hospital's been like that. I picked up several people from the hospital.
I don't even go to the hospital anymore. They don't send them to me.
Oh, you've loaded. Well,
Since I gave that rating, didn't have any more pickups at the hospital.
One of my best nights came from the hospital. I got a $50 ride from the hospital out to Lynchburg. And so took the person out to Lynchburg, and I'm out in Lynchburg, and I'm like, I'm gonna run a couple out here. I run about 3 out there, and then I get one from Lynchburg back to Roanoke Airport for another $50.
Oh, nice!
And I was like, this is amazing. One of the things the Uber app needs to fix this, but the lady I took back, she was like, somebody canceled on me right before you came in, and I had scheduled a ride. I was like, well, shoot, man. Like, you do this on Saturday nights to go to the airport once every 3 months? Like, I should be your person. I need a QR code.
No, they have you can go on there and you can schedule pickups ahead of time.
You can schedule, but is there any way she could request me again?
I don't know.
Or schedule for me again? That's what I would like to be able to give away in a card. Is like, hey, scan this one and it'll ding on my phone. And
I feel like there is a way.
I feel like there is a way too. I would like to find that out. Because it was like, one, you're in the car for like 45 minutes with somebody. So, if it's like someone you don't ever want to do again, you're like, that was a terrible conversation. Because I had somebody get in, because my questions are always the same. Get in, I go, hey, are you local to Roanoke? Because that gives me the chance to go, I'm not local for here, so keep an eye out to make sure I make the turns right. And
now, did you notice the difference in the Uber and the Lyft trainings? Because Uber, like, I want to say it. I spent a good 45 minutes
watching the videos.
Yeah. Where they covered all bases. What not to touch on. Don't go into politics.
Yeah, I saw that.
Don't go into. You never ask. Do you live here?
Yep. Yeah. I've taken all those rules to heart, but I think I did the Uber training and never ran Uber.
Okay.
I did both trainings, and I did Lyft completely. So I have trouble separating which training was which.
Okay. I want to say I feel like Lyft is just like, hey man,
get out there and drive, brother.
Because I don't think I did anything for Lyft.
Back. I like Lyft to the point where you bought those little lights that say Lyft on them. I rewired them, so I've got one in the back and one in the front. That
I saw the setup, man.
They turn on with one button. So I'm like a serious Lyft driver when I go. But I've stopped, essentially.
Really?
Not enough time. Not enough time, and prioritizing other things. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I would take my daughter out to gymnastics. So I drive out to Roanoke, drop her off at gymnastics. She's got 4 hours in gymnastics. I would run Lyft for 3.5 hours. And I usually made enough during the week to put gas in both cars. Okay. And that's all it paid for those 2 days. Now, if I went out on Friday, Saturday, what got me is the first time I went out was like Halloween weekend. I started in October. And like, I made money on Halloween weekend. Like, I was just running. So I was like, man, this Lyft thing is great. Regular weekends aren't like that. People aren't out clubbing like that. Just club home, back to the club, home, back to the club, home. And so I didn't get that same thing. But tips have increased since then.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because of that 5-star rating, if it's because people are declining rides. Because I'm also starting to get people who are like, thank you for picking me up.
Yeah.
And that one, I really hadn't considered the implications on that one either. Transportation's a wild thing.
It is.
I forget how blessed I am to have never had issues with transportation. But I also get a lot of honest people. Like, there's a lot of people that aren't allowed to drive.
I think it was weird that I think it was total about 4 weeks I've been driving. I started to get regulars.
Yeah.
One guy that I pick up, and take him to the bar, pick him up from the bar, or take him home
I
from the
bet
bar.
it's the same guy.
Does he live in a trailer? Like next to
no.
a building?
He lives in a house.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I don't know where he lives. Because it's always this, I usually ran from one bar to another bar.
Mm-hmm.
He would close one bar down, run to the second bar. And so I don't know if I've ever taken him home. I usually run him from one bar to the other. But he's a regular. But he's usually inebriated enough on the second run that he doesn't remember me from the last time we ran. He's having a good time. He's always friendly. And it's funny because drunk people offer big tips.
Yeah.
Don't tip nothing.
Now, I will also say that sometimes they forget.
Yeah.
So,
but if you,
I've had a guy who's like, man, I'm going to tip you so well. And then this shit never went through.
yeah, if it's between bars, I'm like, I ain't getting tipped nothing. I ain't worried about you. Come on, man. Let's get you where you're supposed to go. If it's to the first bar, then I usually get tipped. Mm-hmm. So I have the feeling in most cases it's not intention. It's drunkenness that shifts them off. Because almost all the time, if they're like, "Ooh, we're going to the bar, man. Yeah, I'm gonna tip you," I usually get that tip. If it's like, "Well, let's go to the second bar. I'm gonna tip you good." I'm like, yeah, you ain't gonna remember this conversation, man. But alcohol plays a lot in why some people are running Lyft or are riding in Lyfts.
But that's what makes me feel good, though, knowing that these people aren't getting behind the wheel.
That also does. And I also get a lot of thanks for that. And I got to also say, younger people, I am very proud of in terms of that. Because a lot of them, I've picked up a lot of people who clearly had cars on these Friday or Saturday nights who were just like, knew I was going to drink. I wasn't driving. And I'm like, go ahead, man.
Yeah, or even, I'll pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Might see you tomorrow that I can come back and get this vehicle.
So I'm proud of Roanoke. I enjoy my Lyft. I'm going to put on these 2 episodes my Lyft code, and I'm going to put your Uber code.
Okay.
So my suggestion is if you have any desire to do this, it's fun money. I wouldn't say it's easy money. I wouldn't say it's good money. I would say it's fun money.
It also depends on the type of person you are. I think if you don't have a personality or like to talk to people, you won't enjoy it.
Correct. If you can't hold your tongue.
Because I think we had our first, like we've never really been on the other side of it.
No.
I think I may have been in an Uber or Lyft like 3 or 4 times in my life. And
the DC Uber was the first time I've had somebody who this was clearly their job. Mm-hmm. And that was weird.
Because he did not talk.
Didn't talk. And I tried to get into him a little bit. Like I was like, "Oh, you're running Lyft and Uber," and he was like, "Quit looking at my phone."
Yeah, I think
like, "Oh Lord, I just overstepped the boundary."
I think that's the difference between having to do Lyft.
Yes.
And
wanting to do Lyft.
Yes.
And right now, I'm very much in the wanting to do Lyft category, but it also has made my job a little bit easier. Because I'm like, good Lord, if I get fired, I'll be all right.
Well, yeah. I would say it made my marriage better. Yes. Because it's therapeutic for me. You know, if I'm frustrated or you know, me and my wife aren't seeing eye to eye, I can get out of the house and she's okay with it. She's like, hey, go make some money.
Yeah, women never mind.
Almost turns into my pimp. Like, hey, go hit them streets.
Well, and you know, in that aspect, because I've always heard like a pimp will never pick up money. Like you have to hand your pimp money. So, and I've always like when I ever did side jobs, I usually take half of whatever I get, and I give my wife half. Mm-hmm. But I don't hand it to her now. After I heard that, like I'll lay it on the bed or set it somewhere else. She got to pick it up herself.
Come on, man, this technology age. You got a new phone? Zell it to her.
I do cash. I come on. And SunTrust. I got to brag about SunTrust. You know you can get ones out of SunTrust?
I did not know that.
Man, I am loving SunTrust.
What do you need ones for?
Right now, again, because I really do like the Lyft, what I'll do is if I have a pretty good night, I'll come home and I'll cash money out and I'll leave it for my daughters and my wife. Oh, okay. And so usually for the kids, it's like $5-10. And so sometimes it'll be $6, and so I'll need a one to even things out. So I'll leave my kids a little bit of money, and I'll leave my wife some.
Okay.
I think some of it is also so I don't get like this isn't my job. So I also don't keep the money, and I don't make it part of my experience. So I pass some of it off. So that's where it is, and I like SunTrust. It's not SunTrust anymore. It's Truist. I'm a Truist bank.
Okay.
I've been with Truist since it was like
Crestar.
I started my account in 1996.
Oh wow.
I know. But those are the stories from Lyft. If you're going to do Lyft, I cannot reiterate this enough. Pick one. Log in on somebody's account. If you want, my account will be available for Lyft. My brother's account will be available for Uber. Take those. If you have a buddy, this is one of the things I felt the worst about, because we talked with our cousin and had him talk about Lyft, and I think he's the one that gave me enough, like, hey, I'm gonna go out and try this thing, and I absolutely love it. And I didn't use his code to get it started, and he would have gotten paid this last month if I had done that. And so I'm telling it, not only would he have gotten paid, but I would have gotten paid, because it pays the person that you access. So one, if you use either of our codes, you'll be helping to fund the show. But second, it pays you off at the end of the set of runs. And then cut that app off, and then turn on Uber, and then run that one until you get that one paid for the bonus as well.
Yeah. Shoot, if we're throwing out codes, you also throw my Tesla code out there. Schedule a test drive. I tell everybody, they're getting more affordable. So, and even if you're curious about driving an electric vehicle, schedule a test drive. It's the least amount of pressure you can get from a dealership.
You ain't lying.
They're not trying to sell you
Not
anything.
at all. They do not care.
No. Like, you have to ask them questions.
It almost angry that their Tesla hasn't come in yet. Some of the
Yeah.
You can buy a car if you want. I'm still waiting on mine.
Well, I think they sell themselves. Even, I think when we test drove one, the woman who was stopping by for maintenance was doing a better job of trying to sell us than one of the, their attendants. They're just Tesla attendants. They're not really salesmen.
Yeah. They're there so you'll feel comfortable enough walking in. They don't, I don't know. They're in between jobs, clearly. They're probably running Lyft on the weekend.
I think most of them are there just to pay for their Tesla.
I could see it. Well, now this one's run a little bit longer, so I think we're going to have to revisit Lyft at some point. I'm not going to call out.
I think we can try and make this an ongoing thing. Tales from the road. Tales
from the road, but also I've just gotten to a point where I want to do a little bit of side hustling, and I want to introduce both my own children, to this idea of how to purchase something that's an asset. So one of the things when I bought my van, one of my favorite interactions with somebody, man, I wish I could remember who this was. He had a El Camino, pretty El Camino, had a lawnmower on the back. And I was with Mr. Teagle, and Mr. Teagle's like, "What?" Because Mr. Teagle's a car guy.
Yes.
So he was like, "What are you doing putting that lawnmower on the back of that El Camino?" And the guy was like, "Listen, if it don't make me money, I don't need it." He said, "Everything I got, I put to work." And I was like, okay, I love that mentality. So when I bought my minivan, I was like, I bought the minivan, it's going to work. And so far it has been. And it is a perfect Lyft vehicle. I sit up front and I open the doors. The only time I ever had to get out of that Lyft to help somebody was two instances. One, and it was both instances was somebody called for somebody else, was the gentleman in the wheelchair. I had to help out. He was an awesome guy, though. I really enjoyed the conversation with him. As once we got him in, getting him in was awful, but he was excellent.
I think our cousin prepared me for this. So I get out a lot. If I see luggage, I'm getting out because I don't want them to scratch up my bumpers. Try to put their luggage into my vehicle.
Minivan's amazing. I got a button I hit, my tailgate goes up.
Yeah,
they drop stuff in there.
Well, the problem is them lifting it up and putting it in there. They'll. Okay.
The minivan is built for it.
Okay, yeah.
The minivan is built for it.
I have to get out a lot because people don't know how to open my doors.
Yeah. Just getting into a Tesla. I know when you saw those little handles, the 3D printed handles from somebody else's Tesla, you were like, what are those?
Yeah, but I will say if you are driving a car like that, you get riders based on curiosity.
For the Tesla?
Yes.
I know, because Lyft is almost like begging me to buy a Tesla. Because Lyft is like, hey, there's extra money if you start driving a Tesla. I'm like, is it going to be Tesla money? Because that's a serious investment.
Well, and
$1,000 it wants to bonus for Tesla drivers.
Well, it also gives you an extra $1 to $2 just for having an EV, an EV credit per ride, and I'll say I think the most I've spent, and I think the longest I worked was maybe 8 hours one day. I think maybe I spent $16 to charge.
That's pretty good. Yeah, because I'm usually $25, $30 a night.
Yeah,
running. Yeah. My first 3 runs almost always cover the gas.
Really?
Yeah. But I will say, once I've filled it up with gas, I usually go home with a half a tank. So I usually come out to the positive gas-wise, and I usually have a little bit of money.
Now, downside, it will prevent you from taking a trip. Because I know it was the middle of the night. I think I was down to like 20%, and I kept getting a ride in my queue to go from Roanoke to Blacksburg, and I was like, I can't make it. I don't think there are any superchargers in Blacksburg.
Oh, so you would have had a charge before you left.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's difficult to contact. Like, if you could have contacted and been like, hey, I'm going to throw it on the charger. But, man, that ticker, they're good about that, too, because they put up the ride, and it gives you this certain amount of time to select to take the ride or not.
Yeah.
It's very video game.
It is.
I really can't reiterate that enough.
It is, and it makes it hard to clock out, even though you're the one who's managing the clock.
Yes, it does. Because it really, like a dopamine hit, like I could just do one more.
Yep.
I just get one more in before I go home.
It's like, we got this guy for you. He's a 5-star. Yeah, but I think this is good for this episode, man. Tales from the Road.
And this was actually part 2. So when they're listening to this will be part 2.
Okay.
So
we got more stories coming, and I might suck it up and get back on the road. So we'll see where this goes.
You know what I want to do one day, though?
What's that?
Is I want to ride with you and do runs.
I don't think you can.
Why not?
Because you're not. I actually looked this up, and I don't know if Lyft says anything about it, but Uber strongly encourages you not to have additional passengers in your vehicle.
Huh. Because it makes other people uncomfortable? Mm-hmm. Okay, I can see that.
And I think they want it to be more like work. If you're in there,
we're talking to each other instead of okay. I'm not going to do it. All of that makes
that, man. I got a 5-star rating. I can't put you in my car and get that rating down.
And it will. I mean, right off the bat, if somebody calls an Uber and 2 black guys are already sitting in it, I'm just a little racist, and I still be concerned about that. So
and I don't know about you, but oftentimes when I'm picking up a certain rider, I feel the need to bring their defenses down to let them know that, hey, I'm cool, man. I'm not scary.
But we've lived that life.
Yeah, so it'll be a little harder to do with you in the car, man. You got dreads and everything.
Completely agreed. Completely agreed. All right. Well, you want to close this out?
Hey, this is Misunderstood. The Tales from the Road edition.
Time descends like an old stage curtain on the back of my eyelids, I'd be any place instead. It just kept a-rambling, talking 19 to the dozen, like a worn-out needle, tripping right across that groove. He said there's a silence that's creeping in darkness, but why look for answers when there's nothing to prove? Give me a savior that takes me away. Give me a blanket and a space for my head. When time descends like an old stage curtain on the back of my eyelids, I'd be any place instead. If time were elastic, would we dare ask it to hold on to something before it melts down like ice? And if we could listen, we'd hear back the laughter, 'cause no one ever wades through the same river twice. Give me a savior that takes me away. Give me a blanket and a space for my head. When time descends like an old stage curtain on the back of my eyelids, I'd be any place instead. When time descends like an old stage curtain on the back of my eyelids, I'd be any place instead.